Brian?
Yeah, Jack.
We have it out on the cherry picker.
We do.
I understand you've had it in and out of the car 4 times, 3 times, 2 times?
3 times today,
3
one time yesterday in at least.
That would be 4. I see you've got your side plates on.
Yeah, we got our side mounts done. We left them a little loose right now, so we wanted to slide them in.
We lost our brace plate?
We lost our brace plate.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had to open up the distance between the motor mounts today. We had to take some more material off of those.
I want my shroud back on in the middle before we put it
have to. Yeah, we have to. We were going to try to do it later, but we with this plate we can't.
We'll forget it.
Yeah, and then we'll go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But to pull the motor to put it back on.
Yes, we will. No, you've already, like I say, been in and out 3 or 4 times.
We have.
This is the Big Red Jack's engine leveler. This is the most amazing device in this side of all of Christendom. You put a ratchet in here, he's got a thing or that handle on the end, and you can adjust your center position of your cherry picker to level your motor.
Yeah, and actually, and in this, they're a little bit inclined
Since
down.
we're at a little angle going in, this is cool.
Yeah, this helps a lot.
You want one of these. They're about $40.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got it on eBay.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
I get everything on eBay. Well, it's good to be finally working this, but we have a little bit of a problem.
Yes, we do.
This is, and we haven't seen this for many months until we got it off
Until
the
we
bench.
got torn apart the other day, yeah.
This is our adapter plate and what you would call a flex plate that's on the end of our shaft. And we have a little recess here in the shaft to accommodate the torque converter shaft.
Right, right.
Let's see, this we did for 4L80E transmission, which we were going to use the transmission from
TCI.
From TCI. Yeah. Because Tom Alveri convinced me I could not use my 6L80E. Now he's reversed himself and is sure he told me all along I could.
So
7,000.
So I was going to say, so do we have one for sale?
So Tom's agreed to buy the TCI
there you go. Yeah.
For full retail at $7,000.
Plus shipping.
Plus shipping. In any event, I'm convinced we can make this 6L80E work, but we have run into a problem. You put the motor in.
Yes, but
and you lined everything up, and all the holes lined up.
The adapter plate was beautiful. Everything lined up. It was wonderful.
But you turned the motor.
No, there was this funny thing that before you could get all of this, the transmission, the adapter plate, and the transmission face to come together, that the motor would stop turning and the torque converter would stop turning.
Here's a lesson for young Hauber. When we have a problem, we stop and talk about it a lot. Even if one of us knows really, really a lot about it and we're really, really sure in our mind.
That's right. And we may have made it up anyway.
Before rupturing the pump, I think, we took this back out and had a second look.
Yeah.
And we compared the 2 torque converters. Can you hoist the torque converter over here?
Yeah, let me grab some gloves here. This is the one we're going to take.
Put it on top of your nasty cart.
Oh, God.
Wheel it over here.
Now
this one's got fluid in it.
I know,
but
we've got to be careful.
No, you're just going to pour it all over the floor. Don't pour it all over the cart.
Let me get a cardboard or something. I don't put it all over the floor.
All right.
Because it's gonna spill. We're gonna make a mess.
This one is from our 4L80E transmission. It's a TCI torque converter. And what we're going to do is wheel this around here, or Brian can tilt it up. I can show you what I call its outie. This is the shaft that goes in and engages
the transmission pump.
The transmission shaft engages inside here, but the outside engages the transmission pump. They're different between the 4L80E and the 6L80E. Stuff a rag in there.
Stuff a rag in there.
Okay. I'll tilt this up. This is about a 1/2 inch from the hub of the torque converter to the end of, what would you call that? The shaft end cap?
So the shaft end, and it has it protrudes into this right here, and kind of just locates into that.
Cool. You can set that down. I'll give you a close-up, and I'll try to cut in here, of the one from the 6L80E. Instead of a 1/2 inch, it protrudes 0.945.
Yeah, almost an
inch.
Almost an inch.
We have a 1/2 inch disparity.
I know, and that's what was happening as I would pull it together, and I would check to see if the motor was turning, because I didn't know if it was lined up or whatever. All of a sudden, at like another 1/2 a turn, it would bind up, and then nothing would turn.
So I called and talked to Blake at Pacific Custom Transmissions.
Oh, okay.
They make 4L60s and 4L80s and 6L80s, all stomped up, and they're actually a torque converter shop.
Okay.
And talked to him about it, and he understood what I was talking about, but he said that's not the problem. He said the problem is our flex plates are different.
Okay.
That's the first time we'd seen this flex plate
Yeah.
in a year.
Right. Yeah. Really. That's right.
And we didn't think to go look at the one on the engine.
On the engine. Yeah, because we'd never seen that one.
If you notice, this one is flat, and it sticks out 0.845 inches from our adapter plate. But the one on the Cadillac is dished, and so
That's something.
it's about a 1/2 an inch thick.
Okay.
And I think if we swap our plates, that we can then use the 6L80E torque converter, and we'll mate up. Now, what we need to do right now is swap the two plates and check our distance from
Right.
this surface here to the front surface of the plate.
Of the plate.
If they're identical, great. They won't be.
Yeah. Right. Right. They won't be.
And what we'll have to do then is take off our adapter plate, which fortunately has no boss, it's just a flat plate, and make us a ring, a spacer ring, to make up that difference.
Right.
And I believe that then all of that will go back together and our motor will turn. I hope. And so that appears to be the difference. We've got about a 1/2 inch flex plate on the engine.
On the engine, on the 6.2 liter engine.
And
yeah.
this is about 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
And what happens is, this is not meeting. Now, of course, our torque converter is going to slide out a little bit anyway.
And meet this, yeah.
To meet this. But our hub is getting in the way. And I believe if we swap the flex plate, that we will prove Blake a genius, which gets him a bonus round of
There you
about
go.
$1,500
That's right.
because I'm such a sucker for people that help me. He sells torque converters. Let's talk about torque converters for a minute and why people get torque converters that are not stock. I'm going to ask Blake. I don't really know what our stock converter is.
Yeah, I don't either.
Probably around 2,000.
Usually around a couple thousand, yeah.
What this is, the torque converter has two sets of vanes. You turn one set, and the fluid turns the other set that drives the shaft.
Yeah.
And so this is an important part of our strategy with these two 11-inch motors to keep from burning the motors up or turning our all-wheel drive to spaghetti.
Right, just mangling it.
Is we want a buffer there. Now here's what they do to beef up those torque converters. They'll change them from the 2,000 to 2,500 or 3,000 or 3,500 RPM. And they do that by shaving the vanes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe changing the distance of them, but shaving the width of them. They can alter the approximate RPM where this fluid becomes like a solid and you have what's called lockup.
Where you lock up, yeah, your torque converter locks up, yeah.
Your torque converter at that point is not
it's not slipping. Right, it's not slipping. Yeah, yeah.
It's transmitting full power.
Yeah.
Now, the reason for that, to do that in a racing situation, is they've got motors hopped up to peak, not at 3,600 RPM, but at 6,200 RPM.
Right.
That's why races are so freaking loud when they're not electric.
That's right. They're loud.
We don't like loud. More importantly, our motors make torque from 0 RPM,
Yes.
stall torque,
Right.
up to about 3,500 or 3,600. I would get. We might
Maybe
do
a little
4,000
with the
at
voltage we've got.
192
Yeah,
volts.
the volts we've got.
We're
Yeah.
kind of pressing the voltage too.
Yeah, yeah.
But as our counter electromotive force, or CEMF, in the motors builds, our net difference between our battery pack and the motor counter EMF begins to decline, and our ability to administer current through the windings decreases.
Yep.
And so our torque falls off.
Yep.
Horsepower, as a matter of curiosity, is actually a function of your torque and your RPM.
RPM, yeah.
And so our horsepower curve will start to fall off. So to make maximum power, we want to be down in the 2,500
Low,
to 3,500 RPM is ideal. And of course, we have full torque from a low value. Now, one of the mistakes that I see in the Ford Edge is that the motor just spins up unbearably before you really take off and go.
Until that torque converter must be slipping too much.
Before we lock up the torque
Yeah,
converter.
it's just slipping too
And
low.
because Blake is kind of a genius and helped me steer in the right direction instead of trying to cut up our torque converter or something, and introduced me to a fairly simple solution for us. Hogging this shaft out would be very difficult at this point.
Oh, God, yes.
We'd really need to disassemble the motors, remove the shaft.
Yeah.
And that's not even doable for us.
No.
Jim Husted might be able to do it in 7 months, but we couldn't. And so he steered me to a very simple solution for him. For me, mechanically challenged, it was astounding.
It was like, wow.
Mental leisure.
You
to
can
me.
do that?
And he did it over the phone. And so I think this other flex plate is going to be the trick.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of excited about it. We may have to adjust our plate, probably with additional plate, but
Yeah.
maybe even just washers. I mean, if it's an eighth or something, we're not going to make another plate. And put the distance on this side, so we're sealing up the transmission with this side.
Yeah, with this side, yeah.
And so that's what we'll do. But I'm going to order one of Blake's $1,500 torque converters,
Oh, okay.
which he will make for me at 1,500 RPM.
Okay. So
Lock
we'll
up.
lock up
And
a
that's
lot
about
earlier.
as low as you can get it done.
Okay. At that point, you've got enough pressure to do a lockup in the torque converter. Okay.
And that will move our RPM down
Down,
where we
right.
lock up and are actually driving well. By the way, he shares my admiration for this transmission. He said that 4L80 with the two,
With the two
intermediate things. He says, why would you give up that 4.07 first gear in this XL80E?
Right.
And I'm like,
Right. I wouldn't.
yeah,
Yeah,
Brain,
right.
why would I do that?
Why would we do that?
Why did I have such a foolish
Why did we do that?
notion? And so I really believe this 6L80E, it first came out for Corvettes,
Oh, okay. That's where that
2006,
transmission first went in.
yeah.
Okay.
And well, I think we're lucky to have it in the, and I'm hell bent that we use that transmission. We may go down in flames over this, but it's going to be
We'll find
public
out.
ones.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask Brain to swap off our index plate. We will redo our measurement and assess our adapter back in 60 seconds. Brain, as if by magic.
Voila.
Voila.
Viola.
Viola. I think this is going to do it. Not only that, but we're to the 3 proper holes.
Yep.
Instead of having all those other
Instead
ones.
of 6, yeah.
I see I have a starter ring gear.
We do. It actually is going to make it easier to turn this thing when it's inside the bay.
You know it might.
Yeah, you grab a screwdriver on it and move it.
Yeah, let's leave it on there.
Yeah.
What was your original measurement from the face with the other one?
Oh, point from right here, this face back to the plate was a .870.
Okay, and what's your measurement here?
1.248.
That's a little bit different.
Yeah, about .378.
0.378. Mm-hmm. That's a third of an inch.
Third of an inch.
Your call, we could pull this off and step this off with washers. And this would work just fine.
To do a third of an inch.
Mm-hmm. Or
We
you
could.
take this down to Lucian and have us a spacer ring made.
If he's got the material, he can do it. I'd feel for a decent price. I'd feel better doing a spacer ring. But if there's any problem at all, I'm okay with washers.
I don't want to wait 10 days.
Right. That's. I mean, I'll take it down on the way home and see what the story is, and depending on that story,
Right.
the way it will go.
Yeah, if you can get it made, it would be a more thorough job to have a spacer ring made.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to have to take a piece of stock and plane it is the problem to that thickness.
To that thickness. Yeah.
And then put the holes
Do
in.
a barrel and put the holes.
And unfortunately, don't let him forget your
Right. That he had this hole, and he'll have this, so he'll know that hole can't be covered.
right.
Yeah. It'll have to be hogged out.
Okay, yeah, I'll have the
So
hole.
he'll have this anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Let's try that.
All right.
And see if he can turn something around in 3 or 4 days.
I'll pull all this back off again. See if we can do something there. And if it's quick, I'll have him do it. If not, you and I can noodle something out tomorrow.
Our viewers are growing impatient, but I think if he can do it in 3 or 4 days, we might have to
Okay.
put this off and.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be in the car for a long time.
Well, it is.
Hopefully, it's only come out 4 times the last 2 days.
Yeah. No, we'll put a spacer between this adapter plate
And we'll
and
pull this all up.
and you've got way more than 0.37 here.
Yes.
To stand this off, so I think it would work just fine, and we'd have the right geometry on our adapter. We've unfortunately changed transmissions.
Right. That's what did it. Yeah.
I got on Performance Automotive
Okay.
Torque Converters.
Oh,
PATC.
okay. That's Blake's.
That's Blake's
Okay.
shop.
Okay. Good.
And this guy's pretty good. I haven't got to talk to him again. I got on the website, but the most he's got in the 6L80E is a billet torque converter, which
Oh.
I'm a sucker for, except that nobody's ever going to see it.
Nobody's going to see it. Who needs it?
But more importantly, he has a balloon converter more like ours for
Okay.
$399.
Yeah.
That will work with diesels with a 1400 RPM stall speed.
That's fine.
It's ideal.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
lowest
perfect, yeah.
stall speed on his website.
Right.
My only question for him is that he has a sort of an intermediary stator they can put in some of them that'll lower it another 500.
Wow. Okay. And is it the 3-hole or the 3-tab?
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
a 6L80.
6L80, so it'll be 3-tab. Okay.
Yeah, it's a 6L80 replacement.
Perfect.
And they actually have a full line of performance parts for the 6L80E if we wanted to beef that up.
No,
I don't think we'll have to.
Not unless we mangle it.
That's what
Not unless it gets
But
mangled.
I think going to a lower
Lower
torque
stall.
value
Yeah.
is probably, so we're probably going to face another delay while I get a torque converter and you get an adapter plate.
Okay.
And but I think it'll all go together then.
I think so.
And maybe our motor we would be able to turn, which I can here, but I can't in the car right now.
No, because what would happen is that this cup would protrude, and before this was mated up with the transmission face, it would be bottomed out.
Bottom
in this
out
thing.
in that thing.
Yep.
And so fortunately we didn't try to
Didn't
pull her
didn't
all
torque it
together
down.
with bolts.
No. As soon as I noticed that this thing wouldn't move, that was it.
Good. Hopefully we still have a
Hopefully, yeah, I hope so too. I mean, These automatics are a mystery to me, but yeah, we were gentle.
But the motor looks good. I like your mounting system, and that you seem to have got that mostly worked out, right?
Yep, that's mostly worked out. All we'll do is pop it in there, make sure we have the right angles. Probably just tack a couple of beads on it and then take it all out and then weld it. I think welding will probably be better ultimately than trying to bolt it together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we just want to be able to get it in and out. Those
Right.
bolts are kind of crooked, and I don't.
Well, I've got them oblonged, so they're not round holes, so they can come out straight up now.
Ah, okay, that's right.
Yep.
All right, good. So we'll have a good mounting system.
Yep.
And maybe after we get it in, we can work on something for the front on that cross beam.
Yeah, we should be able to if we feel we need it. Absolutely, put one there. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Well, our baby's looking pretty good, and
We need some more parts for it.
well, it's a little thing like that.
Like we changed the transmission. We didn't think all about all the parts. Yeah.
I don't know why we didn't think about changing the.
Yeah, had to go into the other flex plate. Yeah,
But
we know now.
we'll use the stock one, and that should be pretty good. We've got that motor up on eBay. The first guy that bought it didn't pay for it.
I know.
He was on vacation. And now I've got it on there with a photo of this on it. I guess I'm going to have to go to the dealer and buy him
We'll have to buy
flex plate
a floor at the junkyard.
for the motor. That's kind of discouraging, but I think we're more on the right track. And we can always add a starter motor.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, we just run it with a starter motor.
I wonder if that'd be an option. Make a motor with the gearing on the shaft that matched this, and just turn the.
just turn the.
That'd give you some torque.
That would.
Top speed of about 8 miles an hour.
Yeah, whatever this is geared to.
We're trying to actually, at George Hamstra's suggestion, get John Metric of DC Plasma.
Yeah.
He's down in Texas. He has a 9.85 second Fiero with a couple of warp 9s in it.
Yeah.
And
that would be
we're
fun.
going to try to get him to come speak at the Electric Vehicle Conversion Convention, bring his car. And so Adam Adamowicz.
Oh, so Ron will have somebody race.
Adamowicz doesn't have the whole thing.
Doesn't get the
himself.
whole enchilada.
And so we may have horse race at our drag race.
There you go.
Do we still have that software and all that stuff for the
oh yeah
light?
Yeah, it's actually loaded up on the laptop. Plus we've got it. Yep, we got everything.
All right, good. So yeah, well, we may have a horse race there at the
That'd be a blast.
And maybe we'll have them do like 3 runs each or something, and average them and see who's the main guy there. And but anyway, he's an engineer and does some very interesting things with his car.
Okay.
To get it to that, and I think he'd be a good addition to our speaker list.
Okay, great.
So we're
working on John.
We're inviting John Metric. I did it by email, but I think he's going to come.
Good deal. Nice.
All righty.
Well, we'll tear this apart and I'll take it out to the shop.
Okay, good.
All right.
Let's get that underway.
Well now, if you'll recall from the last update, I had sent some critical parts to California to have an adapter made for the electric motor. Over 2 months later, I'm still waiting.
What time is it now? Is this the right place? Do I fit with her crowd? I'm gonna be a civilized man someday. Part of me wants to jump and shout. Part of me wants to tear it down. I thought you might prefer the kind.
In my spare time, I learned how to research companies on the Better Bureau website. Now, what's that they say about hindsight? On a more positive note, I attended 2 more meetings with the Eastern Electric Vehicle Club in Philadelphia.
I'm gonna be that really cool guy someday.
This club is over 30 years old, and I really enjoy the diverse and intelligent crowd it draws. But don't stand too close, Paul.
Roses, her plate is full, she hasn't eaten all day.
Well, I seem to have no trouble finding things to do on the taxi while I wait.
She looks at me, I stare at her shoes. Mature situations, maybe a broken heart. Maybe I ought to pay the bill. Maybe she thinks I never will. A million things that cross a woman's mind. Just be yourself, well that's what they say. But I barely know who I was yesterday. I'm gonna be that civilized guy someday.
Now that I've risked my life to get the differential ratio, one can take the motor's RPM limit and calculate the maximum speed for each gear.
And on my high school folder, I drew a big gorilla. Something familiar, something far, far away. Somewhere between the darkness and light.
This car had an automatic transmission originally, but we generally use a standard when converting, as they're simpler and usually more efficient. Taking a closer look at the brake pedal, I noticed someone left us some room to add a clutch pedal right beside it. It turns out clutch pedals are extremely rare for this car, so I had a beautiful one made up by our local rod shop about 5 blocks down the street. All I'll need to do now is put a hole in this flat area here for the pedal to stick through. After a year of driving this car on lithium cells, I've decided to incorporate more insulation in future battery box design. So to get some ideas, I called up eCars Now in Finland. We first communicated 3 years ago when they were designing an awesome plug-and-play system for the Toyota Corolla. They were kind enough to share their current approach to battery boxes. But seriously, they have a great approach using a rubber foam called Armaflex that you may recognize as it's commonly used as pipe insulation. The heater coil below is only used when charging. Aluminum plates are used below and between the cells.
Same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
Yeah, same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Water dissolving and water removing.
Okay, and now a little bit of an infomercial. We have a device I really like. I've kind of fallen in love with the J1772 charging standard, and for some very surprising reasons, I think it's kind of overdone. With the safety, I felt pretty safe before, and I still do now. However, we used a little NEMA 5-15 ordinary 3-prong plug to charge our cars, and that let us use ordinary extension cords from any outlets. The problem was, they're not very strongly built. They're not built for it to be inserted every evening and extracted every morning. And after a few months, they simply start to break down from both the weather, but more importantly, the constant flexing of plugging them in and unplugging them. The J1772 standard has given us a very stout plug and a very stout connector on the car. An interesting guy has kind of enabled us in the DIY community. David Kurzel of Modular EV Power in Florida has developed some devices, both to build J1772 EVSE stations, but more importantly, I think, to be an easy add-on to your car to add J1772 capability. Our last 3 builds, the Cobra, the Swallow, and the Escalade, have used his billet aluminum J1772 charge port or inlet that you mount in the car. He sells his devices on eBay, but the inlets have become available from China, where you can get them quite inexpensively, and many of you are very thrifty people. And so he's discontinued the aluminum billet version that I like so well, and so I asked him to make me up 10 of them because I like them. They're more expensive, but they're also more solid. We're going to charge $195 for them if you want to share my wealth, and the package consists of the billet aluminum inlet port, the AVC2 board, and the manual. Let's start with the device itself. He's not really selling these on eBay right now. It's how this got started. I like them because he makes them. He's actually a hobby machinist. He's done radial engines in miniature. And this is a 6061 billet aluminum inlet. This thing will last forever, and it has a collar around it that has 6 holes that are drilled and tapped already for a number 6 32 thread screw, and that makes it very easy to mount this very securely in the car, which is important because, again, there's some weight involved in that plug and cable, and so you want to have it securely involved. This is a piece of jewelry. I mean, this thing is just gorgeous, but I can't tell you how many times in showing our electric cars that people have wanted to see what the charge port looks like. What do you plug it into? And this really dresses it up with the aluminum, and additionally, I mean, it's not going to fade and become brittle like the plastic and the inexpensive ones. It's made of billet aluminum. It'll last forever. The board he had works fine, and in fact, it's got some features that I think are actually just prime for the do-it-yourself community, but it was a little bare circuit board and a little bit fragile. So we had to put it in a little plastic box with a gland nut for the wires and so forth, which was time-consuming and kind of clumsy. He's upgraded this to the AVC2, and this comes in a plastic case with little ears on it with mounting holes, but you still have the same very easy to use terminal strip, very clearly labeled. This provides you with the ability to, it has a relay that energizes when it finishes the process of doing the handshake with the EVSE and has a connection and is receiving power. This can be very useful. It runs on 12-volt power, and you do have to have unswitched 12-volt to it all the time in order to be able to charge. We simply jumper the 12 to the common of the relay and take a wire out of the normally open of the relay, which closes when you have power applied through the connector. And that we route to our controllers as a disable signal to disable our car so I can't get in, turn the key, and drive away when it's plugged into the EVSE, which would cause quite a mess because the cables and the plugs are big enough that it would take some force to rip them out, which I would do. The one criticism I had of his program, he has a delightful pigtail done, heavy wires for the 2 phases and the neutral, but he also brings out a green neutral wire, a blue wire for the co-pilot and a violet wire for the proximity. The problem it was I could never remember it was the blue, the co-pilot, or the proximity, and then vice versa with the purple. So I would, in every case I've wired one, I wired it backwards and had to go back and swap them. I did a little brochure, a little instruction document with a diagram of this, and would you believe we printed out 5 or 6 copies, and I was reviewing them, and I had swapped the wires and had the wrong color. So there's a little 50-50 shot in here that you're just going to get wrong. So, but I do have that corrected in the manual now, and you get a little document that has some very clear diagrams on how to hook all this up in various ways to your advantage. So it's $195. I think it's very dressy. It'll last forever. It is a little more expensive than what he's selling on eBay, but you can get them here at EVTV, and we'll carry them until they're gone. He's made me up 10 of them. I think we have 3 with 7 coming in next week. So I think they really dress up your car and provide a much more durable interface for something you do twice a day.
I'd like to introduce my next project, and that's this replica of a 1952-53 MGTD built on a 1973 Volkswagen Beetle chassis. So all of the bits and pieces that are associated with the mechanical parts are readily available. And surprisingly, the fiberglass and a lot of the trim parts are also through several web suppliers. So I was kind of pleased to see that. This car kind of followed me home last night. It was parked alongside a street in my neighborhood, and I stopped and knocked on the door and asked if they were selling that car. And the lady who answered the door said, "Yes, we are, and the man's coming to pick it up tomorrow, sorry." So I went about my business, and 2 weeks later I noticed it was still parked out in front of their house, and I knocked on the door, and the same lady answered, and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you came back. My husband has not forgiven me since I didn't get your name and number." Well, we had a chat and agreed on a price, and I towed it home last night. And I'm really quite pleased with the purchase, and I'd like to kind of give you a sense of the before, and then some of the project plan to put this on the road in time for EVCon in September. As an electric vehicle. As I mentioned, this is a replica of an early 50s MGTD, and of course that's based on a whole history of earlier models dating back into the 1930s. It represents kind of the last of the square rigger British sports cars. There was an interim model after this called the TF, and then shortly after that the MGA, which introduced a more streamlined style. But this is kind of straight up and down and rather interesting. Has suicide doors, which means that they open from the front. And I was quite pleased to find that the interior is actually in pretty decent condition here. The veneer on the dash is gone, and I'm not real pleased with the instruments. I suspect that a fresh set of Speed Hut gauges would really look nice here, and I think I'll cover that dash in vinyl rather than wood, although I might reconsider on that. Of some interest is behind the seats here is a very large area that will certainly accommodate 6 of my GBS 100 amp hour cells, and all standing up with their tops accessible. Won't that be nice? Also of some interest is the mud dauber nests over there. You can tell this car's been sitting for a while. We'll obviously clean that up. In the back is your basic VW motor. And it is, oh, got to undo the latches here. It uses technology that's most closely associated with luggage when you talk about the securing and latching mechanism. But the tried and true Volkswagen horizontally opposed motor is back here. And obviously this will be the place where we install our new electric motor. But the most interesting thing in my mind is up front here. Under this hood lies a vast chasm of space. Look at all that. I think I can get at least 48 of my batteries up here with no issue whatsoever. And they can all stand up and I can get to them. That black box in the front with the plywood cover, I was able to download the instruction assembly manual online and discovered that that is a box to hold 100 pounds of sand for ballast. In other words, the front end of this was so light that they had to weight it down. And that's good news. In my eyes, that appears to be a battery box. And I can certainly find 100 pounds of batteries to fit in there. The chrome is in remarkably good condition. The gel coat, the color is obviously not. And it looks a little bit pink here. I'm thinking that what I might do is paint this pretty ivory. And I think that'll allow me to keep the nice reddish interior and show it off very nicely. So that's a quick overview of the before on the car. I'm going to be stripping it down this weekend and plan to take it off to Bob, my body guy, on Monday, and he will paint it. I think we'll chat about that ivory. And in addition to the paint, he has one other very important job to do, and that is to repair the yawning chasm that used to be the passenger's floor. That will be a new pan welded in there as well. So it'll be solid structurally, and also planning to convert it to disc brakes on the front, given that we'll have a fair amount of weight to stop, and coilover shocks. And I've ordered a Kostov 9 for it. I'll be using the batteries, charger, DC-DC converter, and all the other electrical bits and pieces out of the yellow e-Bug-Eye. And it's away at the shop right now getting brand new rear springs. I think my last conversation with the MG specialist was that we've sorted out the handling issues. And it's a great car, but unfortunately one my wife couldn't get in and out of. Not that she's too big, but it just requires some folding that she wasn't comfortable with. She gets in and out of this one just fine, and I think that I'll actually be able to get her to ride with me, which I think will be a very important asset in getting her, although she's been wonderful about these projects of mine and encourages it. We haven't been able to do the kind of fun things we'd like to do in terms of taking moonlight rides and such, and maybe we'll get her on the road and do that soon. So anyway, I wanted to show you a bit of a preview of what we have in store, and I'll keep you posted along the way as we progress.